Yo, what's good, everybody? My name is Cosmic, and I want to welcome you to my channel, Opinion Stated, where I give unfiltered, opinionated sports takes. Let's go. Yo, what's good, everybody? My name is Cosmic. I want to welcome you back to my channel, Opinion Stated, and I have a very intriguing episode planned for you today. One that I've researched here over the last couple of days, and you know what I mean, kind of unearthed a whole bunch of information pertaining to it. If you've seen the thumbnail, you know exactly what direction I'm headed into. This particular episode is centered around a 1v1 competition, one-on-one, matchup proposed between Michael Jordan and the incredible Earvin Magic Johnson back in 1990, that for whatever reason, or for reasons that we'll get into, the NBA stood in opposition. So yeah, I was able to find quite a few articles on it. I can be honest in saying that's my generation, man, and I had never heard anything about this, and if I did, it was just kind of, I don't know, man, flipping. But as I searched the annals on my mind, I can't remember ever hearing anything about this back in the 90s. So you know what I mean? It's new information to me, maybe not so much to you, but I'm going to get into a few articles here, one from fadeawayworld.net, another from basketballnetwork.net. But before we dive deeply into this content, do me a huge favor, man. Like the video. Liking the video helps us cruise along Algorithm Avenue, helps us get into the presence of individuals just like yourself who might be interested in this kind of content. Also, subscribe to the channel. Doing so, clicking that notification bell helps you to stay in the loop as to when my newest episodes are uploaded. I'm diving all into this content, man. I am going to entitle today's episode MJ versus Magic, Dream 1v1, the NBA shot down. And so yeah, man, I want to get into, just kind of some discussion around, or get into specifics, first of all, around the story itself. And to do that, I'm going to dig into an article from fadeawayworld.net. And like I mostly do when, if you're not familiar or are familiar with the channel, rather, I'll read through articles, which I'm actually going to read through just one article here from Basketball Network. The fadeawayworld.net article, I took the liberty this time of narrating kind of documentary style. So I'm going to try something out a little bit new in this episode as it pertains to that. But we'll dig into that information. Then I will share with you, my opinions, thoughts, and other additional, insights as I piece together things that I remember and, factors that pertain to present day. But this is such a layered and nuanced, or there is such a layered and nuanced conversation to have around reasoning from back then, and kind of how even business is being conducted in the NBA as it pertains to the players, etc. today. So without further ado, I want to dive into this article from fadeawayworld.net, and then I'll come back and I'll share my opinions. Let's get into it.
Michael Jordan versus Magic Johnson, the epic one-on-one matchup that never happened in 1990. An article published on fadeawayworld.net, written by Titan Frey. In the late 1980s and early 1990s, arguably the two biggest NBA stars were Michael Jordan and Magic Johnson. Magic dominated the 80s, winning 5 NBA titles. Michael Jordan became a scoring sensation, MVP, and Defensive Player of the Year winner in the 1980s. Jordan would go on to become a 6-time champion in the 90s, and he'd go down as what most people would call the GOAT of basketball. Back in the late 80s and early 90s, everyone who loved the game of basketball wanted to see one matchup above the rest, Michael Jordan versus Magic Johnson. This will become a dream come true in 1991 when the Chicago Bulls faced off against the Los Angeles Lakers in the NBA Finals. I think all basketball fans remember what happened there. After the Lakers stole Game 1 in Chicago on a Sam Perkins game-winning three, the Bulls won 4 straight games to win the franchise's first title. There were some memorable moments from both Jordan and Magic during the series. Who can forget Jordan's switch hands layup in Game 2? What some people may forget is that incredible layup was Jordan's 13th consecutive made field goal. Jordan had other big moments in the series, including hitting the game-tying jumper over Vlade Divac to send the game into overtime in Game 3. Magic Squad may have lost the series, but that doesn't mean the Magic Man struggled. In the deciding game, Game 5, Magic dished out 20 assists. He also showed flashes of dominance on the offensive end by using his size advantage against Jordan in the post. This head-to-head matchup was great for fans to see. But did you know these two stars almost played a one-on-one game against each other in 1990? This was the greatest game that never happened. Jordan versus Magic, the one-on-one game that almost happened. In 1990, Magic Johnson came up with an idea. This idea was to play arguably the greatest one-on-one player in the game in a one-on-one matchup in Las Vegas. This was going to be a huge pay-per-view event that was dubbed King of the Court. The matchup in Las Vegas would feature 2 15-minute halves. So, the players would play like a regular game with a time limit, not to a certain point total, as in most one-on-one games. The winner of the game would then take home a $1 million prize. Magic was all for the idea, obviously, since he came up with the idea. Jordan, on the other hand, was a little skeptical at first. Let's hear from Jordan as to exactly why.
Welcome back to the Laker pregame show. I'm Roy Firestone. You know, one of the hot topics of the new year has been Magic and Michael, EJ, and Air J. A made-for-TV one-on-one pitting Magic Johnson and Michael Jordan, maybe winner take all. Well, we caught up to Michael J. the other day. For openers, we asked if the original proposal featured Larry Bird instead of Magic.
The first I heard it was Magic, not Larry.
Wasn't Bob Wolf behind the idea that it might have been Larry Bird, Michael Jordan, instead of Michael Jordan, Magic Johnson? But you must have had the idea, or...
No, the idea was approached to me. I mean, I didn't originate it. It was more or less proposed to my people, and, they brought it to me. And, it was some things I didn't want to do about it with Magic.
What specifically?
The image of it, basically, for one thing. With me, I've been known as a one-on-one player all my career, and I was trying to get away from that label to be more of an all-around player. And here you had Magic, who's been known as an all-around player, and wanted to play a one-on-one situation. And my concerns was that from the public point of view, it was more or less, well, they just playing just to get a lot of money, make a lot of money. And, and I didn't want that image to be taken out of context, because it would be fun to play Magic one-on-one. I wouldn't mind doing it. I mean, that's something that I grew up doing, playing one of the best players in a one-on-one game. And, it would be fun to do that now. But it's so much confusion involved in the situation, because of the situation being more of a business proposition. A lot of money is going to be surrounded, a lot of finance is going to be surrounding, a lot of images are going to be projected from this, and a lot of concerns from a lot of people.
There was another NBA player that was not keen on the idea of Magic playing Jordan in this event. Now, there's been rumors this player didn't want it to occur because of their personal problem with Jordan and maybe even jealousy of him not being asked to play Magic. I'm speaking about Isaiah Thomas of the Detroit Pistons. At that time, Thomas was the president of the National Basketball Players Association, and he quickly shut down the idea. Again, this came as no surprise to anyone who knew Thomas and Jordan's rivalry. I believe that this sets a bad precedent, Thomas said about the one-on-one matchup. Thomas wasn't alone in not wanting to see this big pay-per-view event happen. The NBA as a league was against the idea as well. We're not interested in seeing our players being promoted like fighters in Las Vegas, Gary Bettman, who was the NBA's lawyer at the time, said. It's a shame for basketball fans around the world that this one-on-one matchup featuring two of the greatest players the game has ever seen never happened. We'd all like to imagine how the game would have gone. And though we can't say for sure who would have won, I have my money on the Chicago Bulls star.
So do I. So that article, like I said, once again, man, was authored by Titan Frey of fadeawayworld.net. That article touched on a lot. I fused in with the article the interview between Jordan and Roy Firestone from Lakers pregame show many years back, around the time when, clearly it was spoken about the matchup itself and the business dealings around it, and trying to kind of figure out how to get it off the ground or what the hindrances were at the time. And so, I just kind of linked those two together. Shout out to Titan Frey, obviously, from fadeawayworld.net. Wanted to give some respect to the authors. I use a lot of articles, in my episodes, or I have in the past. So even the thoughts to use, like the photograph and stuff like that, to incorporate, man, who these guys are. You mean the world to content creators. I know of a lot of content creators who use your information. So just kind of want to give some proper respect and put my voice also to it, like I would do ordinarily just reading. But just wanted to say that. So I appreciate your work, brother, on that article. One of the things that I found most interesting from Jordan's perspective, from the video shared, is how sensitive he was, number one, about being perceived as a one-on-one player, continually. And so this is just to give some credence to what we attempt to tell the newer generation about Jordan from back during those times. For those who weren't around, is that, Michael was being spoken of, man, so negatively in the media about, positively, of course, but negatively in the sense of how he could not be a leader, or he wasn't a leader, how he was just a one-on-one player, and that wasn't conducive to winning championships. And so he was getting beat up a lot for his style of play and for his offensive prowess solely, saying that he, because of how good he was as a guard, and the league itself was so center-centric, that, no team would be able to win championship basketball with him leading, the helm, playing the way that he was playing. So anyway, I just found it interesting that those insecurities kind of creeped out in his rhetoric there, his dialogue as he shared with Roy Firestone. And so there was a sensitivity to, just kind of wanting his perception, or the perception, public perception, to be a little bit different of him, and what that one-on-one matchup might do, to hinder that, as opposed to, to help that, because he was moving in a different direction from just being thought of as a one-on-one player. But obviously he expressed his love for playing one-on-one. I mean, it's what it's what we all did as ball players growing up. there was somebody who was good, you know what I mean, or at a position that I was at, I'd take on anybody, of course, but folks, man, who were my size and who were playing a similar position, I definitely wanted to play them to see how my skills matched up against theirs. And I also found it interesting that, or, you know, of how he spoke about an insecurity basically that centered around the money itself. You know, God bless Michael, man, and these guys. It's almost like you know, I don't want to make light of, you know what I mean, like this kind of Stockholm syndrome, you know, kind of a thing where you're not being, you know, treated the best, but you're still in love with, you know what I mean, like the captor, you know, so to speak. But yeah, the NBA wasn't paying them a lot of money relative to, you know, the amount of money certainly up to what these kids are making today. I wouldn't think they were paying them contracts that were even sufficient for what they were bringing in the revenue that they were bringing in, broad scale for the NBA, you know, many years back. So, you know, for Michael to be really sensitive about the $1 million prize and to be like, I mean, yeah, man, like people are going to be, it's a lot of money, you know what I mean? Like kind of it's going to be dished out or what have you. And I don't want people thinking, I think the most important thing he said to me was, I don't want people thinking that, you know, these guys are just doing this for the money. So there was a hypersensitivity of his to, you know, be perceived as a person who loved the game because he truly loved playing basketball. He didn't want people all of a sudden to look at the 1v1 competition as like, oh, they only doing this because there's $1 million on the line. They don't really love the game. They only love this amount of money. So you can juxtapose that, man, to, you know, the scope of kind of what's happening these days with all this money that these players are making, how they're sitting out, you know what I mean, low managing, etc. I'm not getting into that in this episode, but I'm just saying I found Michael's sensitivity in that regard very, very intriguing. I'm going to get into another article here from basketballnetwork.net that was authored by Virgil Villanueva. And this article is from just this past June, so June 3rd, 2025. And that article reads as such: we're not going to allow anything that is exploitive or injurious to pro basketball. Why the Michael Jordan versus Magic Johnson one-on-one game fell through. Interestingly, Isaiah Thomas was one of the people who opposed the event. Sometime in the 80s, sports promoters tried to cook up the ultimate basketball showdown between Chicago Bulls shooting guard Michael Jordan and Los Angeles Lakers point guard Magic Johnson. The event will be stylized like a pay-per-view boxing match. A la Frazier versus Ali, Las Vegas was the proposed venue, and the winner of the 15-minute one-on-one king of the court duel would take home at least $1 million. To clarify what was shared in the last article from what is being shared now, it was, you know, billed as, or going to be billed supposedly as 2 15-minute halves, so 30 minutes total, but a 15-minute first half, 15-minute second half, where the winner would take all. More of the article. I came up with the idea, Johnson told the Los Angeles Times in January 1990. We came up with what we wanted to do, and my people contacted Michael's people, and we decided to go ahead with it. Jordan, who was extremely confident he would beat Magic, even teased fans that the blockbuster show would happen after the All-Star break. He hinted that some opposed it, but he felt optimistic it would push through. I think it's very possible that it can happen, Jordan told Roy Firestone. I think it's very possible. It's still a lot of strong feelings against, but I don't see why it's going to be prevented through a legal battle. Major opposition. The opposition MJ referred to was the Players Union, Detroit Pistons, Isaiah Thomas, president of the National Basketball Players Association from 1988 to 1994, said the one-on-one match between his colleagues sets a bad precedent. And so with that as a quote from Isaiah, I want to dig into comments specifically from the Roy Firestone interview where Jordan addresses specifically Isaiah's comments.
There are a couple of theories as to why, at least initially, it's been shot down. Number one, that the Players Association, fronted by Isaiah Thomas, shot it down. And this stems back from a feud you and Isaiah had for several years, leading back to the NBA All-Star Game of several years ago. Your thoughts on that?
Well, theory, I didn't think, hopefully not, the differences that myself and Isaiah have had in the past should have anything to do with something that Magic and myself had anything was going to originate.
Just completely.
I really felt that things that happened in the first All-Star game, which is probably the initiative of all the Isaiah Thomas, Michael Jordan relationship, all that got started. I really thought that was in the past. I wanted it to be in the past because we're two grown-up people to the point where we can eliminate confusion between the two of us that's going to always be brought up. We ought to be men enough to throw that out the way and start all over again. But a lot of people feel that, and I don't know how that came about, was that the differences between Isaiah and myself was a reason that the Players Union went against it. I don't know if that's true now. I hope not. I don't think it would be.
So, yeah. So, big up to Mike, man, for his maturity in the way that, he kind of approached even conversation about the Isaiah stuff, man. Like, listen, bro, this, whatever it is that's going on or had happened between us, man, is in the past, is water under the bridge. I'm just going to let it go. Stems from the first All-Star game, where Isaiah, essentially, banned against Jordan or got others to freeze him out in the game. You know what I mean? Like, he and the other veteran players conspired to keep a young Jordan from getting off in the All-Star game. And, that haven't happened. It happened. It is what it is. So I really dislike, as a basketball fan, obviously, anytime I hear a Michael Jordan story and there comes, some kind of a roadblock, a hindrance, it's like, here comes Isaiah. You know what I mean? Like, name being kind of brought up or being dragged into, the thing. And so, yeah, man, that's unfortunate, but I wouldn't say that or suggest that Isaiah's statement about the one-on-one matchup between Magic and Jordan and this matchup or this competition being built, period, in stating that it set a bad precedent. I'm not suggesting that what he actually even meant had anything to do with him hating on Jordan. I think that, what he was doing is he was taking the side of the league, who was approaching it optically from a different standpoint, which will be explained further in this article as we dig back in. The NBA did not want to expose its players to an event ripe for gambling. Imagine that. The NBA did not want to expose its players to an event ripe for gambling. At that time, the league had signed multi-million-dollar deals with NBC and TNT. At that time, the league had signed multi-million-dollar deals with NBC and TNT. Present day, the NBA just recently signed a multi-billion-dollar deal with NBC, Amazon, ESPN, etc. It wished to create a product to inspire athletics and provide entertainment. It wished to create, it being the NBA, a product to inspire athletics and provide entertainment. Gambling wasn't part of the league's mission vision. Gambling wasn't part of the league's mission vision. My, how times have changed, bro. My, how times have changed. Man, oh man. Back to the article. We're not interested in seeing our players being promoted like fighters in Las Vegas, Gary Bettman, then a lawyer for the NBA, told the Boston Globe at the time. We're not going to allow anything that is exploitive or injurious to pro basketball. Interesting how I can understand this perspective for the NBA, who wanted to maintain a squeaky clean image. Also, understanding that what their marquee players do is a huge reflection on their business overall as well. Realistically, Magic Johnson and Michael Jordan were bigger than the NBA back then. They were bigger than the NBA, bro. They were legit bigger than the NBA. So for them, whatever they decided to do, they could have broke off and started what LeBron James and these guys are proposing to do right now, like started a rival league. Jordan and his other cohorts, it would have flown because they were the NBA. I'm telling you, they were bigger. They were driving the NBA, literally. They were in the driver's seat. And so I can understand the NBA wanting to protect its brand, wanting to protect how optically, basketball was being perceived, and especially as the premier basketball league at the time, and presently even still. So I can understand that, but there's also the flip side of the coin, like I said, which is that here you have Magic Johnson and Michael Jordan just wanted to do what they've always done, as Jordan explained in his interview with Roy Firestone. Like, well, that's what we did growing up. I always played against the best basketball player. Like that it's a thing. You know what I mean? Like, what's the difference now? Oh, now because we want to put a little bit of money on it, like it's somehow bad when you guys are taking money because people are coming through the turnstile. What's the difference? What's the difference? The difference is the NBA wasn't the promoter. That's the difference. Back to the article. Lou Rosen, Magic's agent, said that then NBA Commissioner David Stern called him asking the Lakers guard not to participate. Wow. Before I go any further, I want to get back into just another portion of this Firestone interview with Jordan, because herein, they kind of discuss the other side of the league's concerns. And so I want to make sure that we cover, that. So it's not just what I'm saying. It's also for you to consider, or for your consideration, what Jordan's saying as well. Let's take a listen.
Some other theories include the NBA frowning upon any inferences to gambling, that this game originally was set in Las Vegas. They didn't like that idea. And also that the NBA didn't like the idea of individual players making money off the NBA's name and their own reputation in the league.
Yeah, I can understand the concerns that the NBA may have about pertaining to the lottery, as well as the one-on-one situation and the odds that's going to be involved, and maybe the betting that's going to be involved. But that happens anyway, and that's still going on now. And I think that from their standpoint, they don't want to promote it, which we understand. And I think that's one of the concerns that we have to, as Magic and myself, will have to evaluate. And but I still think that you should not prevent two individuals from making a business proposition and making a financial situation from this. I mean, it happens all the time. This is the business that we're in. It's from we making money, the league is making money, NBA is making money. So it's all a big business.
A couple other points. First, do you think it's going to come off?
I think it's very possible that it can. I think it's very possible. There's still a lot of strong feelings against, but I don't see where that is going to be prevented through a legal battle.
So, well, I guess Mike was wrong, ultimately about, what I mean? Like it being prevented. I'm not sure if it even had to go into litigation or courts. I didn't find anything, pertaining to that, legal side of things, or where, lawsuits were being threatened or litigation was being threatened. So it's unfortunate because, again, same things that I expressed about, like the NBA's already, the NBA's doing it. You're making money off of it. Why are you preventing these players from, setting up a one-on-one basketball, matchup or contest with, some other entity outside of the NBA? NBA is really weird. So yeah, like I said, the NBA is just, not with it because they're not the promoters of it, meaning they don't stand to benefit from it, financially. And, Jordan said the same thing. Well, they don't want to promote it. You know what I mean? And again, because they were just kind of weighing it, I want to say, against their own brand at the time and the direction that David Stern maybe wanted to take the NBA into, from, how he had grown the NBA into being more reputable and respectable. I can understand all of that. But from a gambling standpoint, it was happening anyway in Vegas. You know, people are betting on the games anyway. Vegas, you know, was primarily the place where it could happen. And now today, the NBA is actually in bed with these gambling outfits, these casinos, etc. Man, these sports books. So it's really interesting to see. But anyway, back into the article. You know, as I said, the match looked good on paper. You have two players at the peak of their careers about to play against one another to see who's the better superstar. However, a closer examination reveals it would likely be a massacre in favor of Jordan. David Falk, MJ's longtime agent, claimed that while the Bull star entertained the idea, he never fully supported it. He was concerned about how it would affect his legacy. Given that Johnson wasn't really a great one-on-one player, winning the match would not add value to his resume. Falk recalls Jordan saying, "If I win, people will say, so, I mean, what do you expect? That's what Michael is. He's a one-on-one player. And if I lose, then I don't have the rings or the title. So what's the point of doing it?" In the years after, the King of the Court pay-per-view event spread across the grapevine. Mike and Magic met in the 91 NBA Finals, with the Bull star coming out the victor. Later that fall, Johnson shocked the world when he announced he had tested positive for HIV. In 1992, the two Titans represented Team USA in the Barcelona Olympics. At that point, the duel had been reduced to a trivial matter. Besides, Rosen claimed that amid all the hype that surrounded it, the ball never really rolled that far. They were great businessmen and realized they're not going to fight the NBA, even though they were allowed to, says Rosen. The truth was, it was so much fun just reading about it, but it wasn't at a place where we were close to a deal. That, from Rosen, Magic Johnson's agent at the time. So it just sounds like it was just, based on what he's saying, it was just kind of conceptually being floated around. Once the NBA put their foot down, it was just off. And I just want to say, God damn it, David Stern and the NBA, man, you guys robbed us of a one-on-one matchup of a lifetime. It reminds me, and it's really funny because as I was doing the research and as I got wind of this, it made me remember or think back. It put me in the mindset of all the times stories that I've heard from like All-Star Weekend, from the top 75, NBA ceremony that took place a few years ago, where it was reported that Jordan walked right up to Magic and was just like, "I got some shoes, put your shoes on right now. I'll bust your," like, Jordan still at this age, 60 plus years old, still saying, "Bro, let's lace him up." And so, and I know that's just, it's banter and it's fun and it's funny. And Jordan would literally lace him up because the dude's a psycho. He's a maniac. So I believe he would if Magic played a water player, what they literally play as old men. But I say that to say, man, the opportunity to see them play when they were young, man, would have been something else. You know what I'm saying? Man, that would have been something else. Don't get it twisted. Like in 1990, Magic was old. He was not old, bro. He was only 12 years into the league. You know what I'm saying? So it's around 30 years or 30, 31. He was still young. So man, it would have been a really, really, really good basketball game. Clearly, it would have been a great memory for us, a great core memory, I know for certain. And we would have footage to go back and to review it, and it would just, man, live in the annals of sports history for forever. And so it's unfortunate that matchup, that one-on-one matchup, man, never occurred. I am heartbroken just learning about it, present day. Like, man, I'm drifting off of my brain because I'm just imagining, you know what I mean? Like them giving their all out there, man, playing ball and having a good time. So we get stories about, their matchups in the Olympics, as it stood, and, things of that nature. And, that was beautiful, man. But dang, man. You know what I'm saying? That's been the basis of this episode, man. I want to thank you guys for tuning in. If you haven't done so already, like the video. And I will catch you guys in the next episode. Until then, take care of yourselves. Blessings.